Movies need to murder more people. Yeah, I said it. It may be a jarring thing to hear me say, but it's true. Hollywood lets too many people live. More people need to die if we want movies to be good. It's one of those things that casual moviegoers don't notice, but once you point it out, you can't help but see the problem is everywhere. Nobody dies, and movies are suffering for it. Here are 3 reasons why. Murder creates characters. Stories have conflicts, and usually those conflicts are brought about by antagonists. A good antagonist is someone you hate to look at. Someone who will fill you with fear, dread, or anger. Sure, they may have an intimidating costume or some sort of visual signifier that indicates their antagonism, but actions speak louder than words, clothes, or any of that. In my favorite Christmas movie, Die Hard, Hans Gruber establishes himself as a villain pretty early on. He informs us of his plan to steal the bearer bonds in the building, cracks a few sarcastic quips, then shoots Mr. Takagi in the brain. Then he walks into the crowd and makes a joke about how he just shot Mr. Takagi in the brain. This is, of course, not to mention the security crew and extraneous building workers that Gruber and friends murdered before heading up to the party. Then, when Harry Elias, the arrogant, coked-out contract negotiator, comes into the room to work out an arrangement, Gruber shoots him in the brain too. Because he's evil. And we know he's evil because we watched him shoot people in the brain. What about Colonel Hans Landa in Inglourious Basterds? It's pretty easy to slap a swastika on a guy and say he's evil because people can generally agree that Nazis are evil. But Tarantino shows us that Landa isn't just your average run-of-the-mill Nazi. We get a good sense of how evil the guy is when, in the first 5 minutes of the film, he orders his men to fire hundreds of bullets into the floorboards to murder the Jewish family that was hiding there. When Shoshana escapes, he pulls his own gun in an attempt to shoot a starving, fleeing teenage girl in the brain. Hell, even Darth Vader demonstrates he's evil upon introduction. Yes, he's wearing all black and has a cape and is accompanied by scary-sounding John Williams music, but he also murders a guy in front of our very eyes. And he doesn't even need a gun to shoot him in the brain. He just strangles him with his bare hands. He also tries to choke a guy for making fun of the Force, and he watches in glee when the Death Star blows up an entire planet, which I assume was filled with people. Now compare Darth Vader with Darth Maul. Darth Maul has devil horns on his head and we still feel nothing when we watch him on screen. That's because we are told through visual cliches and dialogue that he's evil, but we don't have any sort of reason to believe that. He never stabs an unarmed Jedi or shoots a Republic senator in the brain. Dark clothing and eerie music are shortcuts to establish him as a bad guy, but we don't ever feel like he's a bad guy. Oh, hi Electro, how are you? Oh, you're a bad guy now? Okay, well, sure, I guess that makes sense. What with Spider-Man not immediately recognizing you and everything. Oh, Dominic Green is here too. I don't even remember what you did in Quantum of Solace. And why are you evil again? I can't even really remember what happened. No, General Zada's here and he's yelling and has a scowl on his face. So that must mean that Thomas Gabriel. Who are you? What movie were you in? What do you want? The point is, movies need to establish villains as strong, viable threats for the protagonist to fight against. A shortcut is just that, a shortcut. Giving the bad guy a scar across his face or a scary fanfare will convey to the logical part of our brains that yes, these people are bad guys. However, this won't translate to the emotional side. They won't feel like bad guys. Film is a unique medium as it allows us to experience all sorts of great things, but the movie won't come together if the pieces aren't all there. It reminds me of an old piece of advice my teachers used to give me in high school.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding! How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Oh, no, I meant this one.
When you cheat, the only person you cheat is yourself.
Films suffer when the filmmaker doesn't take the time to establish the villain as a villain. We need a reason to fear or hate our villain, and a reason to get excited when the hero eventually fights back and triumphs. Don't tell the audience the antagonist is a bad guy, show them. Use the medium to elicit genuine emotion. Which reminds me, fake death equals fake emotion. If you're gonna kill a character, then kill a character. Don't kill a character and bring them back, because then you've just established yourself as a dirty, filthy liar. The return of a dead character is not a plot twist or inspirational moment. It just proves that you are a lazy filmmaker that doesn't know how to construct a compelling scene without sucking out cheap emotion from viewers. Most of the time, we don't even believe you're going to kill the character anyway, so putting in a fake out is just a waste of our time. Like this nonsense. Ethan Hunt isn't dead. Stop this. Stop this at once. This shit. He's not gonna die. He's filming the sequel right now. No, kids, don't panic. You're children. You're safe. Also, the dinosaur is fake. Oh, well, at least we followed through with this one. After all, this is the last film in the series, and we already established that the Batman is a symbol, so it doesn't matter if the man behind— oh god, I give up. Now, I understand that studios want to keep characters alive because they want to keep franchise options open. But I also understand that studios make a lot of bad decisions and can be really stupid, which is why I don't necessarily buy the idea that you can't kill characters and keep a franchise alive. Game of Thrones has proven that you can kill your main character and still have the story move forward with the other characters in the universe. If characters are written well enough, it won't matter who your protagonist is or who plays them. Now you, Hollywood hotshot guy, might not believe me. You might say,
people won't go see this movie unless it's the same guy.
And to that, I offer this as a rebuttal. What is the common thread linking the different James Bonds as a character besides the name? Anything? Anything at all? If your answer was, they wear suits and drink a lot of booze and indiscriminately sleep with a lot of women, I'm sorry, but that answer doesn't hold up, as you've not only described James Bond, but also celebrities, bankers, and lots of US politicians.
I did not have sexual relations.
Each actor looks different, fights differently, talks differently, etc. Hell, each character could be a different 00 agent and it wouldn't affect the series in any discernible way other than the number at the beginning of the movie would be different. The similarities between Daniel Craig and Sean Connery are so few I can count them on my fingers. They might as well be different people. Oh hey, fun fact! Did you know the predominant fan theory about James Bond is that they are different people, and each time a new actor comes in it means the old one died on a mission? It makes sense for the most part, save for a handful of plot points over the years. Why not make it a reality and canonize what most fans like to think anyway? It could usher in a new level of continuity for the franchise and could allow for better storytelling. There wouldn't be any more fake-out deaths, and you don't have to have James Bond fall hundreds of feet off a bridge in return with the only explanation being, "Fuck you, he's James Bond." Fake-out deaths are cheap, lazy, and they hurt storytelling, especially when real deaths are a viable option. Bringing back dead characters will result in a boy who cried wolf situation. Audiences will be so used to being lied to about character deaths that the director will eventually get eaten by a wolf. Either kill your character or don't show them in a near-death situation, because fake-outs ruin the movie and make us doubt the integrity of the story. We already don't believe you when it comes to franchise films, so stop faking us out or the story's gonna lose all consequence. Oh yeah, death gives film consequence. If we don't believe there's danger in a film, then we don't care about it. If we don't believe there's stakes in a final battle, then we don't care about it. If your villain isn't capable of doing anything besides scowl and yell, then we don't care about him. And if we don't care, your film is probably not doing something right, because film is supposed to make people care. This was one of the great things about Mad Max Fury Road. Sure, many nameless, faceless war boys got blown up, smashed, crushed, shot, or stabbed, but that was to be expected. We all know that the main characters are going to be, oh my god, they just ran over a pregnant woman with that car. In that instant, we were hit with an onslaught of emotion. Sadness at the death of a woman and her unborn child. Anger at our villain and his cronies. And fear for the rest of the people on the rig. In one shot, George Miller gave us everything that Hollywood has been otherwise ignoring. Consequence. Now the film mattered. Our characters had a reason to run and a reason to fight. Any one of them could die at any minute, but it didn't stop them because their deaths would mean something. It's laughable to me that we have horror movies that are rated PG-13. I understand why it's done, but good God is it frustrating. Horror movies are meant to be horrifying. They're meant to scare you and disgust you and fill you with dread. But when a film cuts away from every death and murder to retain the audience, then you're left with a bunch of jump scares and cheap tricks. The movie's no longer horrifying. It's just startling over and over again. The same goes for war films. War movies are not action flicks. They aren't meant to be stylized joyrides. They're meant to be a reflection on brutality and senselessness. They showcase humanity at their lowest and illustrate the depths to which we can sink when we throw rationality out the window. But it doesn't come across that way when the violence is cut from the film. Everything is sterile and clean and devoid of purpose. The morals are extracted from the movie since the scenes that would deliver those morals can't be left in the film. Death is a storytelling device. Much like any other character-driven action, it exists to drive home the focal point of the film. Whether the movie wants us to feel angry, afraid, or sad, death is an important facet in film. Sure, it can be overused like any other cinematic trope, but ignoring it is just as dangerous. Viewers won't get invested in the film if there are no stakes, if there's no danger, if there's no purpose to what they're watching. It's an important tool to have in your toolbox. Without that tool, you'll build an imperfect vehicle, and it just might crash and burn. But you won't die, because Hollywood wants to make a sequel. Those are our thoughts on death. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, for more games, comics, movies, and more, keep it right here on Nerdy Inc.